welcome back to Voices Rising. We're thrilled to have you, and we are excited because I have Rachelle and Marcia here with me today, and we're going to talk about something that may be affecting many of you, and you can interpret it in many different ways, but it's what keeps you up at night. And, you know, we've all heard the questions. It could be something in the news. It could be something in your family. But most traditionally, I want to talk about it from a work perspective, because usually that lands immediately because we know the answer. And it's typically the decisions we haven't made. It's the conversations we haven't had and we know we should have. It's the pressure that we're carrying. It can be expectations that are both external and internal from your family. But for many women, especially those who lead, who support others and hold a lot, it's not just one thing. You often find it's many things. And I think we've talked about another podcast. Sunday nights were the worst. That could keep me up all night thinking about what my week was. Yeah, the Sunday scaries. But you know, often the question was, am I making the right decision? Did I miss something? Can I actually sustain this? But our minds tend to not slow down at night. They often get louder. So how do we deal with that? And how do we manage that? But there's something to understand when this happens to you, is that those thoughts aren't random. They're there for a reason, because you typically haven't dealt with the things that you needed to deal with. They're pointing to things like uncertainty, lack of clarity, because you haven't dealt with that situation. So the goal isn't really to shut them down. The goal is to more understand them and to why we haven't dealt with that. I'm sure because you two are perfect, it has never happened to you at all.
We are so perfect.
All right.
Yes. Has it ever happened?
We validate each other,
We
right?
do. We validate each other.
Well, I know a couple of things that would keep me up at night. I do not like unresolved conflict, whether it's in my marriage, whether it's in the workplace. It really bothers me, and I want to fix it. And, you know, some things just aren't fixable.
Right.
I mean, because, you know, if you, as Lynda, you know, having been through a divorce, you discovered it wasn't fixable. But so some things I've had to learn how to just let go. I don't like black and gray areas. And I remember sitting in the therapist's office, and it would just annoy me, because she had this great big sign on her wall that said, "It's okay not to know."
Ooh.
I'm like, oh,
Wow.
no,
Wow.
I had to know the answer, because I'm a very black and white person. So I had to really work on myself to let some of those things go. So unresolved conflict and in and out of personal relationships. What I learned to do, in a technique I used, because when you're an entrepreneur and any job, there's always moving parts. You're always working with so many people. There was always an issue that would come up, you know, throughout your week. So I learned to block time to resolve issues. So I learned, you know, unfortunately, my brain is not like a man's brain where they can compartmentalize. Women don't compartmentalize as easily. But I learned to actually write things on my calendar. So I would go to my date book before I went to bed, and I would write down, I am going to see what I can do about that issue Thursday morning when I have that amount of free time. Or I'm going to meet this woman for coffee on Tuesday at that time, if that time suits her, set up that time. So I was able to put it in a box and put a lid on it. So that helped.
Which is exactly one of the techniques they talk about, is that before the end of the day, you have to put some type of closure down to it, instead of carrying it into the night. And they said actually schedule it. So it's exactly what I was going to comment on. And you put it into a block, so you're not actually carrying it. So that at least you know that, well, you know what, tomorrow at 10 a.m. I'm going to deal with it. I'm not going to deal with it right now, but I can deal with it tomorrow. And
that's why, you know, when we talked about gratitude, which is such a good point, to do it at night before you go to bed. Because if you're filling your mind with all the things you're grateful for that day, it will help push those other things aside.
Well, yeah, and I read recently that the brain will relax when it knows that that problem has a place to go. But the brain will not relax when it hasn't been, it doesn't have to be resolved, but it has to be addressed and knowing, well, don't need to worry about it now, I can handle it tomorrow.
I would set aside time to worry. It's
There
basically
you
what
go.
it is.
Michelle, have you had that happen?
Oh, it happens at least a couple times a week, depending the season of life I'm in. But I mean, there's a lot of things that keep me up at night. I think a lot about, you know, the next 5 years. I think a lot about the future, like what it's going to look like. Like I do worry about women as well. Like I think because like we just see so much of what's happening in the news, and there's just a lot, like that's heavy for me, is to know what's going to happen for women in the future. I think about the injustice. Like I think about that a lot sometimes, because I find myself sometimes, like if I scroll TikTok at night, and because my algorithm is so curated, I've worked so hard, right? It's all about, like just women empowerment and just, woman power, girlhood, right? Like that's really what my feed is curated for, and I'm very proud of that.
I still don't understand that stuff, but yeah, I do notice that I'm getting more of that stuff now.
Yeah, so I really worry about the future of women. I worry about the future of girls. I worry because I think about, like, I don't have any children. So I think about, yes, I'm a leader and I'm one of one, but who are these next women, right, that are going to come? Like, how are we nurturing women? How can I nurture the women in my life, their children, my nieces, my nephews? Like, how can I empower them, being who I am, right? And what can I do just to give them that, like, to elevate them or give them that platform? I think about that a lot too.
Yeah.
And of course I think about work, right? So I have a very different role. I'm now a senior executive. So there's a lot of different layers and there's a learning curve. So for me, it's kind of layered in many ways. I replay conversations a lot in my mind. I don't think I'm alone in that. I replay conversations I've had and what I want to do and how I want to do it. If I have a busy week or if I have travel, I get a little bit of airport anxiety, which is really strange because I've traveled for, 15 years now corporately. So I get a little bit of that airport anxiety. So mine is a multitude and a gamut of things depending where I'm at. But those are really the things that kind of keep me up at night. And I've learned that you have to sleep on things, and we've talked about that in other episodes. So I'm a big believer in sleeping on things, writing things down, especially in a gratitude journal. I feel when I go through just seasons of change or just transitional times, my gratitude journal, I kind of pull it back out, and it really kind of becomes more of a tool that I really use. And I'm very careful with who I share my overwhelmed mind with. And I know you talk a lot about Pierre, and you guys have a beautiful relationship. I have to be careful because sometimes I overuse my husband in that way. And because we collaborate so wonderfully, and I love him so much, because we think alike, but we're very different at the same time, and you both know that. But I have to be careful, though, because there's still the boundary in our relationship. I have to be very careful how much I'm sharing, because that can turn into days or weeks of just talking about the same thing, the same person, the same situation, right? So I have to be careful, and that's where boundaries come into play.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's been tough because I've been very open with you guys that I was sexually abused as a child, so the whole Epstein files has really triggered me. Yeah. And I went through many years where it didn't trigger me, but for some reason this has really triggered me. And I think it was about the frustration for me of when I didn't have a voice. And now I'm thinking of all these women that don't have a voice. And so that was very hard. And I went down the rabbit holes of watching every documentary, reading every book, and I was getting consumed. So I had to sit there and figure out where I was going to get clarity. And it's like, what can I control in this? It's very hard for me. I can't control this. Yep. I can have a voice, so I can put on my social media how I feel about the Epstein files. But I decided to have more clarity and honest conversations with people around me about the abuse. Because that I can control. Yeah. But I can be an advocate for women, and I can have a voice for women, and I can support women in this venture. So you just have to be careful, because the reality is the news is kind of disturbing right now. Yeah. Yes. But you have to have clarity about what you can and can't control. And there's certain things I can't control, but clarity will help you to reduce anxiety. So if I hadn't dealt with my abuse, I think I'd be in a very different spot, but I have dealt with it. So it's not like it's with me all the time. It just brings back some anger that I want to be supportive for these women.
You just recently told us that in speaking about that in any place that's appropriate, you actually had a woman come up to you and say, you shouldn't talk about that because it's too negative. I
Yeah.
was shocked by that.
Yeah.
That's
I
the
was always
silencing.
very open about it because I always felt there was 1 in 3 women sitting in the crowd that could relate. And I felt that if somebody knew that I came from a history of sexual abuse, it might help them to see that you could overcome that. And a very senior leader said to me, you need to quit talking about it. It's far too negative.
It's ridiculous.
And I just said, sorry, it's not going to happen.
And that I find so shocking because as a woman trying to silence another woman, we just can't allow that to happen.
It's again like it's about throughout history. I don't think a lot of people realize like throughout history, you know, women were the ones who got together. We had tea, right? We know the historians. We know this because we've done the research, but women have got together and they've talked about what they've experienced, what they've been through. Women are the historians and the storytellers of generations, like our ancestors, right? And exactly to your point, Lynda, like if you know you're the example for somebody else in that room who's been through that because you've had a prolific career. You know, you're a legend in your career, and somebody watching you and seeing that, like, it's incredible. It gives them, like, you know what, if she can do it, I can do it too.
Yeah.
It's the leading by example that's so important for women to see.
I'm reminded of the Miriam Toews movie. If you haven't seen that movie and are interested in any of this, it's called Women Talking. Have you seen that movie?
Yep.
I don't know.
Oh,
I don't think I
Lynda.
have.
Lynda, you gotta watch it.
We gotta go home tonight and see if we
you
can
gotta watch
find it. Yeah, because it talks exactly about that. It's this group of men, and now I don't know what religious sect they are, but they get together and they have to deal. And of course, everybody has a different opinion, and they have to deal with what's happening in their community.
And they're willing to risk.
And they're
take
willing to
risks.
risk. And it's, you know, it's really how the power of a group of women, when they collaborate and agree, can actually change an entire sect or society. So it's very good.
Yeah, I often think of the person who said it to me. Had she been abused? Is that
Oh,
maybe
it
the
could
reason she didn't
be.
want that voice?
Yes.
Because there would often be tears, or people would come to me at the end, and I would, comfort somebody or give them some advice. And my advice was always to go and talk to someone, because you have to deal with it.
Absolutely.
Because, the voice that will show up at night when we're lying in bed is often critical.
Yes.
It's often urgent, and it's often fear-based.
Yes.
So you have to remember that when those thoughts are coming to you at night, that's where it's coming from. So you do have to deal with whatever you're not dealing with. I hate confrontation too, but there's times when I had to deal with it and had to go with it. So instead of letting it run unchecked, definitely interrupt it, not with denial, but with perspective. Not with, instead of saying, I'm not doing enough, I need to do more, with, I'm doing what I can with what I have today.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think that's important to remember, that when those voices are occurring to you at night, it is coming from a fear. So I did kind of have to go back and look at my abuse and go, okay, why is this resonating so much with me? Why am I getting so upset about it? And it was literally about women not having a voice. And that's what upset me, was that nobody was believing them and nobody was doing anything about it. So, and then another tip is to ground yourself with what is working. That's going to help you with these thoughts at night. That's where the gratitude comes in, because it's not a cliche, but it's a reset, because your brain is scanning for problems. But gratitude trains it to see what's steady, what's supportive, and what's working. And that's why I always did my gratitude journal at night, because it calmed me with great thoughts and great perspective. And that creates emotional balance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We're still doing our gratitude journals?
Yes.
Yeah.
And not in the morning anymore.
Interesting.
Yeah. I
Interesting.
do mine at lunch now, actually.
Oh.
Yeah?
Yeah, I do mine at lunch. I don't know why. I think it keeps me on track. If I've had, depending the morning I've had, it just kind of re-solidifies and just helps me kind of get through the day. Yeah. It's a nice moment of presence that I can take in.
Yeah, and I think another tip is, finally, don't carry it alone. But I think I agree with you. You have to be very careful who you're talking to about it. Make sure that person is hopefully non-judgmental, lets you get it out, lets you get your perspective out, because when you're not carrying it alone, it becomes a whole lot easier.
And because Pierre and I were so busy with 3 little kids, and he was very active in his own sports, and a comment he made that taught me a huge lesson, because I would bring all my problems from work. The quiet time was when we went to bed at night, and he just looked at me and he'd say, do we have to bring that into the bedroom? So be very aware, which you're very aware, when John has had enough, because we have to remember too that it's not always all about us. I know we're the talkers a lot of times in the relationship, but they wear that sign too that says make me feel important.
Oh, absolutely.
And the other sign, because I realized looking back at a past podcast, I said there was 2 signs. I only talked about one. The one sign is make me feel important. The other sign is WIIFM. What's in it
for me.
For me. So there
That's
you
it.
go.
Well,
It's true.
I could tell you that my dog Maeve is a wonderful counselor at night, because I have 2 dogs and a cat every night in my bed. But she's great, because if I want to vent, I just kind of talk away,
Right?
and she's
That's it.
very happy to.
Yeah.
She's like,
to listen.
Mom, this is amazing.
You're right again. How is it that you're
Yes.
right all the time? So tell me if this resonates, because I think it's so important to reframe when we have a challenge. It's not what keeps you up at night. It's not a weakness, but it's rather an awareness.
Yeah.
Okay, so yes, I think if something is keeping you up at night and you can't sleep, it's a signal that you're either avoiding something or you need to deal with something. For me anyway, because once I've dealt with something, or once I've put it in a box or written it down that I'm going to deal with that, my mind calms right down.
Yeah.
So it is a signal. It's like dreaming.
Yeah.
For
sure.
Are you dreaming? It's not healthy really to not be dreaming, because what are you suppressing? I'm not sure about the whole dream thing, but a lot of times we have dreams about things that we need to be aware of.
Well, and
that
I
are
think
happening.
when we have to deal with something, you have to put into action.
Yes.
And, the power
the
is
word.
in what you do with it. So do you carry it, or do you process it?
Yeah.
Do you react to it, or do you react with intention? So I think when you can put an action to those thoughts, it helps you to put it into a better box and to better process it at night.
Yeah.
So instead of trying to silence your mind, I think it's really important to listen to it differently.
Yeah.
Why is this coming up?
point.
Why is
sure.
it? Why am I? Because there's some nights you go to bed and there's no thoughts,
Yeah.
and then there's other nights you're like, whoa.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think it's staying curious about yourself for sure. And curious about why these things are bubbling up to the surface, right? I think, and just on the perspective of women, I mean, we know we have the mental load, right? We know that there's a lot of things that get processed really usually late at night, because that's the time that really you only have with yourself, right? Is right before bed. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but
Yeah.
John's sleeping way before I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I could be talking to him, mid-sentence, and he's gone, right? Like, and same thing too with my dog. She's sleeping for sure, and you can hear her snoring, so for sure she's in too. So I think it's just, again, it's saying to yourself, maybe it's having a pad of paper next to the bed, right, and writing things down, or if you have a note application on your phone, and again, like, I just feel like there is resources available. You just have to really figure out what ones that you can go to. Employee assistance program is there. I talk about it a lot, but also there is therapy too.
Yeah.
Like, it
Yeah.
might be time for those things. Gratitude and everything is great, but there are people out there with other tools
Yes.
that you can use, right? In that case, if
Yeah.
it's really keeping you up.
Yeah.
And I think if something's keeping you up at night for more than a week or two, yeah. I think you got to really look inward and say, okay, like, I got to figure it
Yeah.
out, because
Yes.
sleep is
I
one of the
Oh,
most.
sleep is vital.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean,
one
I've-
of the most important
I
things.
know I repeat it all the time, but you need to go to bed in the same day.
Yes.
This idea of
Yes.
staying up till 1, 2 in the morning and
That's
thinking you're going to be more
ridiculous.
productive is not. You have to go to bed at the same day.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I agree.
Because otherwise you don't have clarity.
Yeah.
You're not
No.
able to focus. I mean, you think
Yeah.
you do.
Yeah.
I mean, I look at my son. I mean, they're in his 20s, and he does stay up late, and it's like, I just want to wring his neck. But
Yeah.
it's just such a habit they get into.
Yes, it
Well,
is
for
a habit.
But
women,
as a
yeah.
leader, I
Yeah.
think you have
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
You
Well,
got to
for
go to
even
bed.
as we age as women, like, if you're going through perimenopause or menopause, and if you're not getting, 8 to
Yeah.
at least minimum 8 hours or 7 to 8 hours of sleep, right? Like, you're not
not functioning.
You are not going to
No,
be functional
that's
the
right.
next day. No.
Yeah.
No.
No. So, yeah.
And I think having a routine before bedtime, whatever that looks like,
Yeah.
stopping your work a bit, I could never finish
What
work.
was your routine, Linda, when you went
Well, I
went
was,
to bed?
I mean, you can laugh again. I'm 5 o'clock
Yeah.
Yeah.
person.
Oh, yeah.
There's no doubt about it. But
Yeah.
I would try to, if I was doing any type of work, I would quit it at least an hour or two before I was ready to go to bed.
Yep.
You know, obviously take the makeup off, enjoy enjoy that feeling. Then I would sit in bed and try to never turn the TV on and read.
Yeah.
Yes.
The screen time is bad. For
Yeah.
sleep.
So reading for me could really calm me.
Yeah.
But there were still some nights the head was going and
Yeah.
Absolutely.
you know, and it was spinning. So I just tried to get into that more relaxed mode. I really enjoy now after we finish supper and, you know, you clean up the kitchen and I putter around and then I head to my room and I have
Yeah.
my quiet time for about,
That's
3-4
it.
hours without my son around, without
Yeah.
anybody around.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like my quiet space.
Yep.
And that has really
Yeah.
helped for sure.
Yeah. What
Yeah.
was yours, Marcia?
I'm a reader.
Yeah. I am
And,
too.
you know, I mean, when I was working and active in my business, it was all the positive motivational books and it was all this stuff what keeps the mind going. Now, no, I don't mind telling you, I can read trash. I can read anything but science fiction. I mean, I love historical novels, but that's how I turn my brain off. I
Yep.
read. I go to bed, I read. If the book's good, I can read for hours.
Well, and I think it's important to talk about that too. Like, what are you doing before you go to bed so that you're not up all night worrying about all
Yeah.
that crap,
Yeah.
right? It's very
Yeah.
important. It's the things that you
Yeah.
absorb, right? That you're reading, that you're taking in
Yeah.
every single day. I think those are important things too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we kind of covered it. It's
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
really you have to compartmentalize it.
Yep.
You've got to put it in a box.
Yep.
But most importantly is to have some awareness around this, that there's a reason that this is happening. It's an unfinished or an unprocessed task that you haven't done.
Yeah.
And then we have to address it by listening, being assertive, and having some action around it.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
anything
Yeah.
else?
Yeah.
I think we're good.
I think we're
I
good.
think so.
Let's go
That
have a
was
good
great.
night's sleep
Amazing.
tonight.
Let's go
All
have a
right.
All right.
Yes.
So if you enjoyed this episode, we just want to say thank you for following us and being a great support. You mean the world to us, and we want to continue this for you. So if you like us, make sure you share, make sure that you tell your friends, and always follow us at Voices Rising Podcast. And we can't wait to see you next time. So have a good sleep.